I now recognize Ranking Member Raskin for his opening remarks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Forgive me, but I think we're at a point when we have to ask why we're doing this again. I wonder if second-guessing the elected leadership of Washington, D.C. is really the most urgent priority for the U.S. Congress today. I can think of dozens of things more urgently important to the American people, starting with the out-of-control gun violence that is taking thousands of lives and causing millions of people to live in fear and terror. From Kentucky to Tennessee, from Georgia to California, we've had more mass shootings in 2023 than we've had days in the year so far. In other words, there's a gun massacre, not always with an AR-15, but often with an AR-15 every single day. And yet, assault weapons account for only 1% to 2% overall of firearm fatalities in America. The vast toll from gun violence and our Swiss cheese-like gun laws make America an absolute outlier among industrialized nations in the world. Did you know that there are countries whose foreign ministries have issued travel warnings to their citizens about the dangers of coming to America because of gun violence? Gun violence is now the leading cause of death for children under 18, surpassing car accidents, pediatric cancer, and contagious diseases. And yet, the Oversight Committee has not seen fit to call a single hearing on why these massacres are increasing in our country or how we can work together effectively across party lines to stop this bloodbath. Nor have we held a hearing on the threat of a default, which could plunge America into a deep recession, crash the stock market, and cost our people millions of jobs. The Constitution does not allow any of this because Section 4 of Article 4 says that the validity of the public debt shall not be questioned. And yet, our colleagues who were content to raise the debt limit 3 times under President Trump, a president who created 25% of all the debt accumulated between George Washington and Joe Biden, seek to play a dangerous political game with the full faith and credit of the United States, a nation which has up until this point never stiffed its creditors or defaulted on its obligations. No hearings on that. And we've called no hearings on the war on freedom in America, the shocking new efforts to ban textbooks, censor and intimidate teachers, silence scientists, humiliate and cancel LGBTQ students, and rewrite our nation's history textbooks to conform to the white nationalist ideology that a Republican senator publicly embraced just a few days ago. Nor have we held a hearing on how the Dobbs decision and the relentless attack on reproductive freedom is dramatically undermining the health care that millions of American women receive on everything from common miscarriages to ectopic pregnancies to postpartum hemorrhage to endometrial biopsy, all of whose treatments can involve misoprostol and mifepristone, which are suddenly being treated like criminal contraband across the country. Doesn't women's health warrant even a single hearing under these crisis conditions? And nor have we had a hearing on the assault on voting rights taking place. Instead, we've gathered today to hold a second hearing to micromanage the local affairs of Washington, D.C. And I fully expect some of our colleagues to announce their candidacies for D.C. City Council from Ward 6, where we sit, or mayor of the District of Columbia when this is all over, or maybe advisory neighborhood commissioner. At least the people of Washington would that have some role in this performance art. But I was watching President Trump's town hall meeting on CNN last week, and I saw 2 remarkable things that clarified in my mind what's happening here. First, I saw Donald Trump blame Vice President Pence for failing to steal the election for him on January 6th. As Trump emphasized on January 6th, he believed, and he continues to believe, that Pence did not have, quote, the courage to do what needed to be done. Moreover, Trump assured his cult followers that Pence was never in any danger from the invading mob chanting "Hang Mike Pence," and all the violence was Pence's own fault for not succumbing to Trump and becoming the first vice president in our history to step outside of his constitutional role and declare the president the winner against the actual Electoral College vote. You see, that's what Pence gets for not doing what he was told by Donald Trump. But we also saw Trump castigate and blamed Jean Carroll, the woman he sexually abused in a department store and later lied about and defamed. Trump called her a whack job and asked what kind of woman meets somebody and brings them up, and within minutes you're playing hanky-panky in a dressing room. You see, he thinks it's her fault that he sexually abused her. And watching these two glaring cases of the GOP frontrunner for the presidential nomination in 2024 blaming the victim for his crime made me see what's happening with these hearings on Washington. They're part of an effort to deny Americans who live in Washington the right to participate in representative government and then to blame them for their own disenfranchisement and their own lack of representation in Congress. Nearly 700,000 U.S. citizens live in D.C. They pay more taxes per capita than the residents of each of the 50 states. They fought in every U.S. war. They're draftable. They're subject to all the laws of the country. And against all odds, without the power to select their own judges or prosecutors or make their own budgets without outside interference, they've made real progress in their community over the decades. And they have nonviolently petitioned for statehood the way 37 states have done it in our history, but they still have no voting representation in the House or the Senate. They are locked out of the normal processes of congressional representation. And yet, when violent insurrectionists attacked this body on January 6, 2021, a beautiful day, according to President Trump, the people of Washington, as Capitol Police officers and Metropolitan Police Department officers and staffers and citizens and local officials like Mayor Bowser and Chief Conte rallied to the defense of the Congress and the Republic and the very institutions that lock them out. Local residents and leaders stood up to defend us and to defend the vice president against the rampaging mob that stormed the seat of government in the name of the big lie with the explicit goal of toppling and stealing a presidential election. Now, for their service and their sacrifice for the country, Washingtonians must endure lectures about their unfitness for democracy from other people's representatives who confuse the act of seditious conspiracy with tourism and call the convicted assailants of American police officers political prisoners. If our colleagues choose to ignore the statehood petition of the people of Washington, there's not much we can do about that kind of moral indifference and contempt for other Americans' rights. But at least spare everyone, at least spare everyone the Trumpian spectacle of blaming the victims for their own disenfranchisement and lack of fully comprehensive government. It's an insult to Washington, it's an embarrassment to Congress, and it's a shocking waste of time. I want to thank the mayor and the U.S. attorney for appearing here today, and I want to thank the people of Washington for not violently attacking Congress, even though you have a legitimate political grievance as opposed to an imaginary one. You've exercised your rights under the First Amendment and the Ninth Amendment to petition for statehood admission, and we salute your patriotic defense of the Constitution and this body and your embrace of nonviolent change. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. I must admit, when you kept referencing the election interference, I thought you were going to refer to the Durham report, but you never did.